difficulty. Hey, we are live and in action. Um, so I've been doing these live series because I want to give people um, some more insight, right, into not just the programs that I'm creating, but just like, the content that I'm creating. There's one lock, don't want to act right. And also just some tools to help you. I feel like there is a shift happening, right? I'm seeing so many people who are um, losing their jobs or they're just not able to make ends meet. They're looking for ways to bring in extra income, or maybe you've been a creative for a while and you're struggling to sell your art, or you're online and you're seeing all these people, you know who are getting paid for doing the things that you also know how to do, and you're trying to figure out how to get paid. And because I have been through trial and error, right, in this content thing, um, being a person who has gotten paid offline, I wanted to be able to share with you some tools and tips, right? And so today's topic, I asked yesterday, like, what did y'all want to hear? And people were saying, like, well, like, what are like the big things we need to know, the big takeaways? Because I've talked about a lot, right? I talked about ways you can get paid online. I talked about how to tell your story. I talked about the importance of building a personal brand. I talked about how you can create content kind of on demand without stressing yourself out. And I talked through kind of the program that I had to help and support people who, want to do that. And so, you know, when I was first starting out, um, I wish that I had somebody like me to really guide me through the process. But I had to learn it on my own. And I'm a big fan of paying it forward, right? So I want to teach what I have learned that has helped to sustain me. Um, what I will say is, the last 10 years as the last 10 years in having an online business and creating content and products that I have gotten paid from has been quite the journey. Three times in those 10 years, I completely lost everything and had to start from scratch. I rebranded multiple times and then reverted back to the original brand and then did some form of rebranding again. And what I learned through all of that is you don't have to know it all. You just have to really know what you do well and keep pursuing that, right? And so, I'm here to really share my story of how I've gone from broke to consistently paid um, in terms of what I do. And some of you might be asking, what is it that you do, Brandy? Well, I always say that I'm a creative because I consider myself a writer, but I'm also, a visual designer of sorts, and I don't draw. But I like creating things that are aesthetically pleasing through design. And I am a curator, cultural commentator, and a podcast host. So those are my essentially my creative gigs that people will pay me money for, right? And I teach and train people online as well. So I want to give you five and hopefully you take notes. Let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from. I would really love to know that. But this is something definitely you're going to want to take notes on. I'm still trying to figure out how to post these live videos somewhere in the world. So I don't know when you'll see this again or parts of this, but five game changing lessons that took me from broke to consistently paid professional. So the first one is you don't need all people, you just need to find your people. When I first started out, I was like, my number one goal was to get as many followers as possible, right? Because the people who I saw getting paid had a lot of followers. And 10 years ago, the only platform that was paying creators really was YouTube, right? And I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for YouTube, but I really like Facebook, and I was on Twitter at the time, and then Snapchat came out, and I was like trying to be on all these different platforms so I could reach the most people. And I was like, I'm just gonna, try to be everybody's best friend and try to create things that I think people are liking, or then I saw like big creators doing things. I was like, oh, maybe I should be doing that. And I was just kind of all over the place, right? I didn't know who my audience was. I didn't know or didn't really take the time to really understand who the people were that took the time to follow me, or that were commenting on my posts, or that came to my live videos, or that were really actually showing support. I was just looking at a number like, oh my God, I only have 300 followers, or, I need to get more followers, right? That was my whole thing. I need to get more followers. But then I started to realize that, um, there's power in small numbers, right? So I watched this video by this guy, who I used to actually work for in New York he's a party promoter. I was one of his promoters promoting parties in New York. That was one of my side jobs in college. And he made this video about getting your first 100, right? And he was saying that having that, kind of like what I said yesterday, you're going to put a lot of effort into getting your first 100 customers, followers, fans, whatever, right? But those 100 are going to be the most solid. They're going to be the group that has spent the most time with you, right? Those are going to be your day one group. That's your day one group. Those are going to be the people that know you best. Those are going to be the people that really care about you as a person, the behind the scenes. If you're doing music, they're going to know all the lyrics. If you write articles, they're going to be able to quote it. If, you're doing visual art, they're going to be able to, kind of tell the story and be the ambassador for you, your first 100. And I was like, okay, well, dang, I got 300, right? When I first started getting paid online, I had 300 followers on Twitter. This was Twitter. So, it's X now, but this was Twitter. I had 300 followers. So I was like, okay, let me figure out how to take this 300 to the 100. And I don't know, like, if you're religious, but there's a story in the Bible about Gideon, right? And Gideon's army. And Gideon was going to go fight in this army, and he prayed, and God was like, you got too many people, because like he had 1,000. And he was like, no, God, I need more people, because the army that we're going up against, they got like 10,000. And God was like, no, 1,000 is too much. Like, that's not going to work for me either. Cut this army down. So he cut it down, um, by basically telling people like, okay, like, look, y'all, probably, we're going into this war. Some people are going to die. So if y'all not feeling that, y'all could go home. So like half the people went home. So then he got like 500. And he was like, okay, God, went back in prayer. And he was like, okay, God, like, I'm ready. I got my 500 now. And then God was like, nah, still too many. And he was like, so we didn't have enough to begin with. And now you telling me like to go down, like keep going down. Like, I need like to have less people. What do you mean? Like, God, what are you doing? What are you talking about? And God was like, nah, you got too many people. So then Gideon was like, okay, bet. And if I'm remembering correctly, don't quote me on this, but he went back to the army. He was basically like, okay, like switching up, changing up the leadership. Okay, like I know you're the sergeant, but actually I want you to be like, colonel or whatever. And then people got mad and was like, okay, so I'm out, I'm leaving. So then he got down to 400. And then God was like, okay, I think you could do battle with these people, but I'm just letting you know, like all these people are not going to come out of the fire with you. And the 400 went against the 10,000, and somehow they won, like magic of the Bible, right? Um, but that story is important because it let me know that you can always do more with less, right? You could do a lot with what you have, and on even less than what you think you have. So I had the 300 people, and I was like, okay, I'm in good shape, because he's saying I only need 100, but out of those 300, I probably had really only 100 people that were really like rocking with me. And that was back when I was doing music journalism. So I was like doing concert reviews, album reviews. I was at the time, and I could have made it a podcast then, but I was like interviewing up and coming artists and things like that. So I had kind of my first 100. And so what I started doing is I turned that into a music website where, because I was freelancing for a bunch of other people, but then there were some times where I would pitch to, a magazine or a website, and I'm like, hey, we should interview this artist, and they were like, no. And I was like, well, I could put them on my website, right? And then people paid to have access to that website, and then businesses paid to have advertising on that website. And that's how I made my first money. And those first 100 people, those were the people where I went on Twitter and I went in the DMs and I said, "Hey, I'm starting my new website." And it was just like, the landing page, like, here's the link. And people signed up, right, to wait for the website to come together because I didn't really have the money to like build out the website, but I was like, okay, I got the landing page, like it's coming soon. And if people are interested, like I'll make the landing page. If people are really interested in this, then they could sign up, right? And that's how I found my people. And some of those people still like are on my Substack to this day, although I have obviously gone and done other things. So what I say to you is like, you are probably thinking like, oh, I can't wait till I get to the point of, everything I post sells and I have $10,000 months, $20,000 months. And I keep seeing people on Substack like, I got 500 followers and now I got my first 2,000 followers and this and that, or subscribers. And you can't wait till you get to that point, but focus on one person at a time till you get to your first 100. Your first 100 loyal, solid, fanatical fans, right? And those are going to be the people that are going to introduce you to other people. These are going to be ambassadors for whatever it is you're doing. They're going to be your biggest fans. Okay. So you don't need all people, you just need to find your people, right? And you can find your people kind of along the lines of similar interests in terms of what you want to offer, your background. It does not have to be people from your neighborhood or community you grew up in. Because when I started, like most of the people on my Twitter, they were from a lot of other states, right? None of these people were like my friends and family. They were just people that liked my writing or appreciated my reviews and found me online. So you don't need all people, just find your people. Okay, that's number one. Number two, ask. Okay. I talked yesterday about like how creators are afraid to ask people to spend money with them, right? You have to ask. I read this book. I don't even know if it's still available out in the world, but I got this book for free. It's called Ask by Ryan Levesque, right? Back in the day, I used to like, um, when I first started listening to podcasts, a lot of podcasts I listened to were like white businessmen. And I listened to this podcast called, it was the Jordan Harbinger Show, and he had this guy as a guest. And the guy was like, "Hey, I have this book coming out. I love to read." He's like, "You get the book for free. All you gotta do is sign up and you pay for shipping. And you pay like $3 for shipping and get the book." And this is all about asking better questions. Asking better questions to get to know your audience, asking better questions to get started, asking for the help and support that you need, asking, like making the ask when you're wanting people to buy stuff from you and spend money with you. This method, the ask method that he uses, is really similar to design thinking. So, this whole idea of like customer empathy, right? He says before you create any product that you're going to sell in the world, you need to ask the right questions to understand the person who is potentially going to buy it, right? Which is the foundation of um, design thinking. So if you're like, I want to make money online, I don't know why people would follow me, I don't know why people aren't following me, etc. Start asking questions. If you post something on Substack and somebody likes it, but you recognize that they're not subscribed, hop in their DM, right? Or if they made a comment, reply to their comment. Thank you so much for commenting. Um, Go ahead and subscribe, right? Hop in their DM. Hey, I noticed that you liked my post and you didn't subscribe. What is it about my post that piqued your interest, right? What's stopping you from subscribing and learning more, right? Ask the questions that lead you to the product, that lead you to the thing. Get to know your audience, right? Once you got, excuse me, once you got your first 100 biggest fans, engage with them and ask them questions. Get to know them, their motivations, right? The psychographics that I talked about, not just the demographics. Where are they from? How old they are? Are they single, married, blah, 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 etc. Right? I talked about this earlier in the week where I said, when I was a teacher and I was posting content, a lot of people that followed me were teachers, but a lot of them were not parents. So when I posted my commentary about being a mom and, struggles of that and this and that, they weren't really connecting, right? So at that time, I started kind of maybe not doing that, right? Because I didn't have a mom audience, right? I had a teacher audience. So I talked about teacher things. I talked about lesson plans. I talked about, the system is so messed up, and that kind of stuff, right? And then I started asking those people, like, outside of your work, what are you into? What do you do? People were doing side hustles, right? And or people were working on different goals, but they were struggling. And a lot of them said to me, like, you're really good at accomplishing goals because I've always been a person who shares, sometimes overshare, right? And so every time like I did something like, hey, I just finished grad school or, just paid off my car or 5 times in the gym this week, whatever, people are like, "Oh, like, you, like, really accomplished goals, like, help me. Great. I'll be your accountability partner." And then I got multiple people that wanted me as their accountability partner, so I'm like, "Okay, bet. Let's make an accountability group." And then we had that group for, like, maybe a couple of months, and people are like, you know, smashing their goals left and right, and they're like, "Okay, I invite more people to this." And I was leery, like, "Okay, I don't want people to think, like, I'm a professional." Right? But also, like, if I'm actually like, if I'm taking this from a hobby to something, then, you know, I want to be paid for my time. So I was like, okay, people can sign up. Like, everybody put in $25 and, whoever reaches their goal the first or does the best, blah, 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 we're just gonna like give them the money. And we did that, right? And then people were like, well, hey, like the group thing is cool, but Brandy, I need some one-on-one time. And I was like, oh, you want me to coach you? Okay, let's do it. Right. So every kind of thing that I was into as I'm asking people and talking to people, like, what's going on with in your life? What is it about what I'm posting that's connecting to you? Right. And a lot of times it wasn't necessarily the topic, it was my perspective. It was just the fact that I was sharing because I've always been really transparent and open about things that are going on in my life. And people were like, oh, like I love that you're sharing that. That gives me permission to share that or me permission to open up or what have you, right? So ask. The other thing is once you get to a point where you feel like you have something that your audience, your biggest fans, your people that you have captivated and are now subscribed, are now connected to you, need, ask them to buy it. Right? Like, hey, I am selling this. I don't just have this thing. I am selling this thing for this price, right? Can I put it in a cart for you? Send me your shipping address. I'll send you the link for payment, right? Have that part of the transaction that, your whole relationship isn't transactional, but you need to get to the transaction by asking, right? Because if you don't ask, like I said yesterday, nobody actually wants to buy, right? I could be like, oh, I just published my book. I just published my book. Cool. That's great. I would actually love to read your book, but I don't want to spend $18 for it. I'm just not gonna give you my money, right? You kinda have to do something for it, right? So asking is a big part of that. So ask, 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 right? In this book, like he gives like different questions, like how to survey your audience. Substack has a survey thing. So let's say, if you have any followers, right? I learned that, I have almost 1,000 subscribers, and about half of them only have maybe like around 10 subscribers, right? If you have 10 subscribers, send out a survey. Hey, tell me a little bit about yourself. Why you follow me? What kind of content that I have already posted that you enjoy? But you gotta have stuff posted. As I look through my followers too, like y'all ain't even posting stuff. Y'all not posting stuff. You're not reposting stuff. You're not commenting on people's stuff. So the survey could be very important. Make sure you have stuff posted, right? Because sorry, when they get the survey and you say, "Oh, which of my last 5 articles did you really enjoy?" They're gonna be like, "Oh, I actually did read their last 5 articles. Let me go to their page and read their content," right? Um, And then, you're gonna ask them about the content that they like. What would they like to see more of? Is there anything that you can do for them, right? Because this whole thing, like being a content creator or getting paid to be a creative and getting paid for art, it's really about service, right? Like, hey, I got something to provide to people, and it's gonna serve them somehow in some kind of way, right? Just out of that book to my Libby, yes, I was like, ready to have it too if people are interested. Yes, find it in the library. Like I said, I got it for free, so I got it direct from him. So I don't know if this was one time thing, if it's like still in publication or what. But this book really, it really helped me out at that time. Okay, so number one was you don't need all people, find your people. Number two is ask. Number three, game changer that I wish I would have known sooner, is that consistency for me may not look like consistency for you. And this is so important. When I'm teaching people how to build their personal brand, and I do this in my program, I am trying to get to know you and I'm going to help you get to know you, right? Because everybody is unique and different. What works for one person doesn't work for the other person. And I beat myself up a lot of times in my life trying to be consistent, right? As someone who found out in adulthood that I have ADHD, as someone who found out, um, you know, that I'm very like spiritual, and I read my horoscope and do all that kind of stuff, and I got into human design, and I found out that I'm a manifester, which means that I have spurts, right, of energy. I don't have any sustainable sacral energy, right? So if you follow I'll let you guys look up human design. I won't go down that rabbit hole today, but consistency looks different for me. There are times where I can be laser focused and I will sit in the same spot for 5 hours and not move and just work on a thing, right? And that 5 hours is probably a month of work for somebody else. There are times where I just, it's not that I can't do anything, it's a struggle for me to connect to do things, right? So when I first started like trying to take creating content and getting paid as a content creator seriously, the first kind of 3 years of doing it, I was like, I would do stuff and then I would stop doing stuff and I didn't want to do stuff. And then like people would stop buying stuff. And then I just felt like, okay, I'm being too salesy. Like, am I only here to sell stuff, etc. And then people were posting like, you gotta you know, what was that phrase that was popular? Rise and grind, right? You gotta get up, you gotta work, you gotta do this. And I'm like thinking in my mind, like, I gotta hustle, hustle, hustle. Keep in mind, in the early years, I was working a full-time job. And because I wasn't really sure of myself, right? I didn't really believe that I can make a living as a creative. I did my art, right? I was writing, I was doing photography, I was doing design work, and I would do it and I would either undercharge or not charge because I just wanted to put it out there, right? I just want people to see it. I just want to share it. I just want to whatever. I was working full time. I had some kind of side part time job because as a teacher, I was not making enough money to sustain myself and my family. And then I was trying to uh, find the inspiration to be creative, right? Raise your hand in the chat if that's you. Like you're working and you're doing all the things. And you're like, oh, I really love being creative and doing it, but I don't have time, or I'm stressed out, or I don't even feel like it. I'm not motivated, right? I had to learn how to create systems for myself that allowed me to create even when I didn't feel like it, without feeling like I was trying to force something, right? You need systems for creativity uh, to really flow. But for me, consistency didn't look like every day, right? Consistency looked like, you know, Wednesdays, because that's an early day for school. We get out of school and I'm not working my second job on Wednesdays. I'm going to write, 3 articles. I'm going to do some design. I'm going to, I can book a photography session on Wednesday evenings. Wednesday is going to be my day. And even though I'm writing it on Wednesday, I might publish it every Friday or every other Friday. Or instead of giving it a date, right? When I had my Patreon, Instead of saying like, okay, every Wednesday we're gonna do blah blah blah, I would just say, okay, every month you're gonna get two two articles from me and a list, right? And some journal prompts or whatever it is I was doing on Patreon, right? So that I could do it in my own time, but still put it out in a way that people didn't feel like I was ghosting them and they were still getting served, right? Again, this is about service. You are being of service to your audience. So I had to kind of do it in my own time. So when I saw people like every morning, like having their to-do list checked off and done, that didn't work for me. I wasn't a to-do list type of person. I see a to-do list, I get scared, right? So I had to figure out what consistency looked like for me and stop comparing myself to other people and their consistency, right? I said yesterday, like, oh, I post on threads 20 times a day. But also, it takes me like 5 to 7 minutes to post those 20 to 30 threads that I'm posting, right? Because I'm sitting there, I'm rattling it off. Like I already have it in my head, boom, boom, boom. Okay, send, boom, send. And then I'll post it and go on about my day, then come back and reply to comments that people made on it later in the day, repost some things later in the day, go back and comment on other people's things, send things to people in DMs, tag people, etc. Right? So it's not necessarily taking me a long time. It might take you a long time to come up with what you want to write and post on threads, right? I do believe in having content days if that works for you, but I make content as I go and I just save it, right? Um, I don't have to post it. Like I probably have maybe 20 videos because I'm in the car and I think of something. I'm like, let me record this video right quick, right? And then I'll just schedule it for a later time, right? That's me being consistent because I'm consistently creating content. I'm consistently putting it out, but I'm not holding myself to a stringent schedule, trying to align with other people who are like, I'm posting on Substack every day, right? Just because you post more doesn't mean that your content is good and doesn't mean that it's content that's going to attract or captivate people. Right? So that's number three. So number one, you don't need all people. You need to find your people. Number two, ask. Number three, consistency for me looks different than it does for you. Number four. Ooh, man, child. Ooh, child. No, my dog finally got on his bed. Number four, create things that are evergreen. Right? One of the traps that I got into, especially as a writer who's also a cultural commentator, is that I was chasing the trends, right? Something happened in the world. I'm like, oh, I got to write about that tonight. Um, which meant that it altered the quality of my work because I was just trying to get it out, right? And I think that is the effect of social media, that we see a lot of false reports, a lot of misinformation because people just want to be the first person to do it. Like a couple years ago, it was so popular, and this might have started on Snapchat where somebody would post something and then people would say, "Oh, first comment," right? Oh, got it, beat you there, right? So we just want to be so quick, but you want to create evergreen things because, again, for me, being a manifester, having ADHD, being a single mom, somebody who in the past has wore multiple hats, right? You want to create things that are evergreen so that you can put energy into doing it once and then repeat it over and over and over again. Like I said, repurpose your content. If your content is very specific to something in the now, right? That time may pass and then you're just stuck with content that you can't use or products that nobody wants to buy, right? For example, um, things that are, I'm not even saying seasonal in terms of like the weather, but seasonal in terms of popularity, like a movie that has just come out or a show, right? Like not staple shows like The Office, but maybe a show that has come out and got canceled or a joke that took place on social media and now you're trying to, make a t-shirt and sell it based on the meme, right? The window of opportunity for that is very tiny, right? Or you're trying to record a podcast, but you recorded your podcast and your podcast only comes out once a month or it doesn't come out till next Friday. And now folks have moved on from that story. You have to be so in alignment with what's going on with the world that you don't give yourself an opportunity to rest, right? So create things that are evergreen. I talked about yesterday about ways that you can make money. If you're making a digital product, right? You want to name it something or create something that you're thinking 10 years from now, if you still have that site up, people can be purchasing it and have it and utilize it and it'll still be relevant for them, right? You don't want to call it like, um, I don't even know, Tylenol Gate, whatever is going on in the world, right? Or, um, you don't just want to take things that are popular now. You want to figure out how to make them evergreen, right? Same thing I do with webinars. I'm creating content and um, I don't acknowledge timestamps, right? So I'm not going to say, President blah, 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 or, today is Monday or whatever. Like you want to make it evergreen so that you can use it over and over again, right? Just as I said yesterday, I made this digital product that was a resource list. And it's very simple because I was a teacher. Majority of the resources I had already been using and were aware of. I just went in Canva, created a document, and put all these links and different write ups and explanations for us. So I had like video links, I had links to books and articles, links to other people's like Instagram accounts. And then I, turned it into a PDF, uploaded as a digital project on Gumroad. And like I said, as recent as last week, somebody's still buying that thing that I made in 2020, right? If somebody is subscribing to your page and they want to scroll back, several posts, is it still going to be relevant to them? Right? That every person coming to your page as a subscriber, every person that is coming to your website, every person that is experiencing you for the first time is starting from the beginning. They're starting from their day one, even if you've been, day 3,000, right? I'm 10 years in, but everybody who is now experiencing me is experiencing me for the first time. Right? Do they wanna relive everything that I've done? Not necessarily, but they very well could because it's all there, right? And what are they gonna see? What is gonna be useful that they can pull from, right? To where I don't feel like I have to come up with a new digital product every week because the one that I sold you last week is no longer relevant. Oh, that webinar doesn't make sense anymore. People don't even do that, right? So make things that are evergreen and it will lighten your load. That's how you get to repurpose your content, right? So then you're not always, always on the hook to create. You're sharing, 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 right? Even when you make your Substack post, right? I try to keep my Substack posts between like a 3 to 7 minute read, right? And I have different sections. In my Substack post, every section could be its own Substack post, right? And that's how you repurpose. If I'm writing, like, for example, I wrote an article about Beyonce and reinvention, okay? A lot of my platform, right, and the themes that I talk about are reinvention. I basically talked about 6 different ways Beyonce has reinvented herself and what that has meant. I can make a Substack article, take that initial paragraph from the bigger article, right? Because that's like a maybe 7 or 9 minute read, and turn that into a 1 to 2 minute read, just expanding and expounding on that even more. If you're doing audio, right? Again, however long this webinar or this live is going to be, I'm then going to take that and turn that into smaller clips, maybe 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 60-second clips of this 30, 40, 50-minute video, right? And I can keep reposting that over time. I can join 2 of those 30-second clips together. I can do a 5-minute video. I can do a 10-minute, like you can switch it up. So really up to you in terms of how you do that. If you're actually physically creating something like you're drawing or painting, how you share it online is you share the different stages, right? Go from blank canvas to sketch or whatever it is, sketch to blank canvas to paint colors to, you know, design on canvas to outline to paint to shading to hanging to drawing. Like all of those different things can be content and it's evergreen because, you know, a painting doesn't expire, it doesn't go out of style. Your opinion hopefully doesn't expire, right? Those things don't expire. You just now are repurposing and reusing that content. Right. Number 5, y'all, don't be afraid to pivot. If you started with me 10 years ago, you know, I have pivoted a lot because when I first started, um, you know, my Instagram wasn't just an extension of my Facebook. I didn't really see myself as a business or as a brand. I was just on the internet. Like many people, like, okay, Instagram, this is new. Let me get on there and see what that's about. Okay, you know, when you sign up for social media, they're like, hey, we found some of your friends, add them. So I just added my friends and you know, they posted pictures and I posted pictures. And I was kind of waiting for somebody to say something or do something. And then I was liking pictures and I was doing things. But then, right, I was getting back into my creativeness and I had things that I wanted to share with people. So I'm like, well, it just naturally makes sense for me to share it on Instagram and Facebook because that's where you know, my world is. And then I was like sharing and I felt like it wasn't getting the attention that it deserved. And I'm like, okay, I'm finally going to take myself seriously as a brand. And so, you know, my Instagram name, it used to be like something, I don't know. I think it was I'm a 510 girl. And then I changed it to like my full government name. And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go full brand and I'm gonna change my brand name and I'm gonna make this a thing. I changed my blog to Brandy Was Here. I changed all my socials to Brandy Was Here. And I'm like, I am a brand now. If you are here to be my friend, um, cool. But this is a brand account. And I'm gonna post things about my brand. And I started branding. I started doing Mogul Mondays where I was highlighting entrepreneurs. I was doing Tupac Tuesdays because Tupac is my favorite. I was posting little articles and linking to my blog, and I really just started to take it seriously, right? And though I have always been a writer, my subject matter has changed. And then I went from blogging really to I went from blogging to podcasting, right? Well, I went from blogging to then coaching to then podcasting and now back to kind of blogging and selling digital products. So I have pivoted a lot, right? In terms of what my identity is. Um, and I say don't be afraid to pivot because again, I have my solid 100. They were there for the journey. They were along for the ride. Like you pivot, we pivot, right? You with it, I'm with it. I was telling somebody the other day that, you know, I used to be part of the Beehive. I was a diehard Beyonce fan. Like when her B-Day album came out, I was in college in New York. We stood in line outside of Tower Records to buy the album when it dropped at midnight. The physical album, like a crazy damn fool. Me and thousands of other people in the middle of Times Square, right? And then one day, you know, as Beyonce's music has started to change and she has started to evolve and pivot, I realized like I'm really not a day one because I was stuck at day one. I didn't wanna pivot when she started doing all these different music changes, like, when she got with Jay-Z and she was, like, half singing, half rapping, and then she, like, did the, "We gon' turn up the night." Hate it. That's not the Beyonce I want. And then she did the country music, I was like, "Okay, girl, you have lost me completely because 'cause I don't like country music, and I'm not gonna like it just because Beyonce's singing it, right? Like, she has lost me. I did not go through all the changes that she has gone through, right? That's not to say that I won't ever like music, respect it, like, she's very talented, but it's just not me, and so, over the years, I have lost people, right? At one point, I had, like, 7,000 followers on Instagram. I have 3,000, I've been hovering at 3,000, right? But again, I was making money when I had 300 followers. I was making money at 7,000 followers. I'm still making money at 3,000 followers, right? So it's not the number, right? If you have conviction, right? Once you decide what you want to do, you move in the direction towards that thing and you're like, this is what I'm doing and I'm really doing it and I'm going to trudge forward and now my content is looking different and you let people know and you show the journey and you feel the behind the scenes. Um, people will stick with you. So don't be afraid to pivot, right? If you're on a journey and you're like, I'm not sure if I have a brand, maybe I want to have a brand. I'm just, you know, I'm just gonna post, I'm just gonna do this, right? You maybe listen to some of the lives or all of the lives, or you're here today and, you know, I'll give you a bonus game changer. One of the things that I tried to do, I would listen to people who were doing the thing that I wanted to do, right? Like people who were making, you know, back when I started like making any money online was good, but there were people who were like, I'm making $5,000 a month. And I was like, whoa, that would 100% replace my income. Cause as a teacher, I wasn't making that, right? So my goal was like, okay, how do I get to 5,000? And I sat under people who gave not just advice, but they gave the blueprint of what they were doing step by step. And I told myself, oh, that's really amazing. Yeah, but I ain't gonna do step 2 and 3. Imma just go 1, 4, 5, maybe. Imma kinda do step 5, and then, Imma see how it goes, right? And I know that every time I talk and I say, "Do this, do that, do that, do this in this way, and this is how you do it, and I would do it, and go get this," and I say that, and people are like, "Yeah, yeah, Imma just do this, though, and Imma do it on my own," and it's gonna work out because I want it to. No, right? Again, and somebody who has pivoted a lot, who lost everything 3 times in my life. And when I say everything, I mean everything, right? And had to start over from scratch. When somebody presents you with the plan, a formula, don't skip the steps, right? If you're gonna do it with conviction and do it fully. Because the worst thing that you can do is say, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do it. And then try to do it your way and not work, and then you blame me. And people have done that. I have had people who did one-on-one coaching with me, right? Like one of my first, and I tell part of the story, so I'll tell the whole story. So when I branched out from my accountability group and I was really going to coach people, right? Like one-on-one, I didn't know what to charge. So I was charging $25 for a year, like, or forever for my accountability group. And I said, okay, I'm going to charge $297 for a one-on-one coaching. 6 weeks of one-on-one coaching for 297. And 2 things happened. I had somebody that was like, "Oh my God, Brandy, one-on-one coaching with you would absolutely change my life. I do not have $297. Could you work with me? Could I do a payment plan? Could I whatever?" And I was like, "Okay, like, I'll work with you." Like, $297 to me seemed like a lot because I had never charged that for anything that I have ever done. And again, teacher salary, single mom, like there are very few things I was paying $297 for that was not a bill, right? And so I was like, okay, yeah, I'll do it. And I was like, okay, I could pay 150, right? And I was like, that's a lot less than the 297. And they were like, okay, I can pay the 300, but I want you to coach me and my husband. Like I want us both to do it. And I was like, okay, because in my mind, oh my God, that's the sale. I got the $300. Wow, this is amazing. And those people ran me, ran me ragged, ran me ragged, right? Um, and I said I would never do it again. Like my price is my price. I will work with people to some extent, but um, one, I was greatly undervaluing myself. Like I was spending 1 hour direct a week. Again, one-on-one coaching 297, 1 hour, a FaceTime with me. They got, I made a workbook. I made a goal tracker for them to track their progress. I also made videos for like I had a YouTube unlisted playlist. It had like maybe 10 videos, like motivation and instructional things. We had a group me text. Every time they text, I was doing a thing. Um, and some people pay thousands of dollars for that, right? It's basically a mastermind, right? Um, and it was that. And so that was kind of my first client. And then I had a client who was a multimillionaire. And I met her actually through my actual job. And she said, Brandy, I really respect you and I need somebody that's gonna push me. Like I'm really good about doing these things, but I don't really have anybody to hold me accountable. And I feel like I start things and I stop things and I want to work with you. And I was like, okay, great. By then, right, I had did those the husband and wife pair, had another client for 297. I was like, I should be charging more. What am I gonna charge? I'm gonna charge 497, right? $500. And this person was a multimillionaire. And I was like, well, I'm not just gonna up the price just because they're a millionaire. Like I'm gonna charge them what I'm charging them. Right. And I charged them 497. If you know anything about people with money, they like to negotiate. So she was like, 497. Like, well, explain to me what I'm getting. Like, what am I getting for this amount? And I don't know, like trying to justify. I'm like, okay, like, what if I took this off? Then how much would it be? And I was like, girl, it is 497, right? Like, I'm sticking with my price. And I went through the 6 weeks with her, and she pretty much did everything I said. Amazing, outstanding. And at the end of it, she said to me, um, Brandy, this was so amazing. She was like, if you had charged $10,000 for it, I would have gladly paid it. And I'm like, "Well, why'd you give me $10,000?" He's like, "Because you didn't ask for it, right?" She was like, "This is a lesson that you are going to learn about, following due process," right? I hadn't done any research about pricing, really. I hadn't figured out what my time and commitment was going to be. Again, I have sat in webinars and courses and things where people are like, you got to calculate your bottom line, and you got to blah, 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 this and that. And in my mind, I'm like, well, I'm just coaching. It's not really a business. I don't have to follow those steps. I'm just going to do it my way. And I played myself, right? Because I was doing amazing, outstanding work for pennies. And people knew that because they understood the value that I was giving, right? And so I say that to say, if you are here and listening to this and you're saying, I want to make money as a creative, is this a hobby or is this a business for you? Like, do you actually want to be a brand? My email that went out today said, you're going to need a personal brand wherever you go. When you're in your job and you're like, oh, I want to apply for that promotion, or you get to your annual review, right? And the reflections and the feedback that your boss is giving you is based on how you present yourself, your reputation, your personal brand, your values, your beliefs, how you show up, your work ethic, what you produce, your visual identity, right? Your messaging and how you communicate and talk to people. All of that's personal branding, right? Whether you want to or not. If you want, whether you want to or not, if you're going to grow as a person, you have to be focused on your personal brand. Your personal brand is basically your resume, right? It's that resume, that word of mouth resume that we tell other people when certain folks' names are brought up. Like, oh yeah, that person. Oh yeah, they're this and that, right? It precedes you, right? Your reputation precedes you. If you want to be a creative and get paid, you have to be working on your personal brand because people have to have something to connect with. They're not going to connect with these one-off thought pieces or artworks or what have you, right? They need to be able to connect with you. And so I say that to say, take it seriously and don't skip the steps, right? And if you want to do the steps in community with other people, then you can join my signature brand program because I have put all of the pieces together for you, right? You don't even have to search for it or look for it or try to figure it out or try to remember what was said in a live. You're gonna go step by step, pace by pace, 8 weeks together, right? And putting this package together so that by the end of the 8 weeks, somebody's cutting you a check, you're getting a direct deposit, and your reputation has improved online. People are referring other people to you. People are not just hitting subscribe, they're actually following and engaged with you, right? Because your brand is speaking to them, right? And you can finally start to achieve the results that you want with confidence and with ease without trying to figure it out, without thinking every day, what am I going to post? Okay, how do I get people to buy this? What am I going to sell? What am I going to do, right? To really have some focused time to do it. And people will say, and because I used to say this all the time too, like, I don't have the money for that, right? Like, I was talking about when I got my master's degree. I waited like 5 years because I don't have the money for that. I don't have the time for that. I can't do that. Oh, wow. And then I applied and magically I made time and found the money. because I made a decision, right? When you decide something, don't talk yourself out of it. Don't count yourself out before you've added up the cost, right? You say, "Oh, I can't do that. I can't afford it. I can't invest it. I don't have the time. I don't know. I'm busy," right? Like, yeah, you're always gonna be busy doing something, but if you invest the time now, then later you won't have to worry about it. If you're investing your time in things and you're wasting time and energy on things that's not giving you a return, focus on the return. Like I said in the live the other day, focus on the money. All right. It's like the difference between somebody saying, there's three types of people. Somebody says, "Oh, I want a career that's making good money," and they do nothing. And then somebody says, "I want a career that's making good money, and I'm going to go to trade school, right, for 18 months, and I'm going to go in my career quicker." And then somebody who says, "You know what? I want to have a career and make good money, but I'm going to go to a 4-year college. And at the end of the 4 years, I'll have a higher paying job, but I have to wait a little longer," right? Some creators are like, "I'm just gonna create and I'll see what happens. I know she's saying there's a formula and you gotta do this and you gotta do that, but I'm gonna do it my way and see what happens." And when my cohort finishes in those 8 weeks and they start getting paid and getting money, I start posting success stories. You be like, "Oh man, like it's gonna take me more than 8 weeks because I'm doing it on my own." And then that next cohort starts and the next cohort, and it'll be 3, 4, 5 years from now. You're like, "Well, I tried to be a creative and get paid online, but it didn't work for me because you didn't do it right." Right? You could have had been making 5, 6 figures, but you wanted to do it on your own and continually make mistakes. Trial and error have no expiration date. You can make there's no limit to how many mistakes you can make. You can keep making them, and it can cost you a lot of money. It can cost you everything, right? So you have to make a decision like, okay, is this what I want? Do I want to start taking myself seriously as a brand? Or do I want to just keep posting on Substack and, you know, just be proud of myself for posting? Do I want to keep hoping that people subscribe to me? Like, yeah, there are hundreds of thousands of people on Substack. Oh, of course somebody's gonna find me. They won't unless they know to look for me, right? So, I think there are a lot of excuses that people can make. But what it comes down to is what do you want and are you willing to do what it takes to get it? Simple. I hear people saying they don't have money all the time, right? And then their favorite artist is in concert and suddenly they have tickets. They figured it out, right? If it's something that you want to do, you'll figure it out. If it's not, then you'll find an excuse. But I'm here to help people who maybe don't feel quite ready, but you are desiring a community to grow with, and a guide like me to learn from so that you can finally start um, feeling confident and getting paid for the work that you're already doing. So I'll continue to post about my signature brand. If you're a subscriber, you can get an email probably in the next couple hours. But thank you for tuning into the live. I will try to post this somewhere soon.